Welcome back to Andersen. We're in the kitchen again today, and today we are chocolate dipping some cookies. I had somebody ask how I did that because I had done that. I had shown that I had done that. I hadn't shown doing that in a different video. So chocolate dipped cookies are actually really easy. I'm just using these cookie medallions. I made these out of my traditional sugar cookie dough. I did make sugar cookies in a previous video. I'll link to that video if you want the recipe. But you can actually use any cookie you have. You can use a sugar cookie, you could chocolate dip chocolate chip cookies, whatever cookie you have. And they can be either just a medallion cookie, a small circle cookie. You could do candy canes since it is right around the holidays. You could do anything really, you know, if it's Halloween, you could do little bats. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you want to do, you can do. I'm just using these because I'm going to be putting some fancy holiday sprinkles on them. But it doesn't matter. So you just get your cookies all ready. You should use some kind of non-stick mat. So I'm using a silicone cookie sheet liner, and that will keep the chocolate from sticking permanently onto here. You can also use parchment paper, or a wax paper is even better. Just use something that the cookies will pop off of later. So the next thing you have to do is you have to melt some chocolate. Now I'm using a chocolate melter. You can also use a double boiler to melt your chocolate. I'll provide a link to a chocolate melter that I like. I don't think they sell this one anymore. This is a Betty Crocker model. It's really nice. And it literally just starts melting your chocolate. The other thing you're going to need is a chocolate designed for melting. It is absolutely better if you use a chocolate that's supposed to be melted instead of a chocolate, like a chocolate chip that's not designed to melt and dip. So in my case, I'm actually just using the Hershey's fondue chocolate. Now the directions on the Hershey's fondue chocolate is to add some evaporated milk to it, but that's if you're using it as a fondue. I'm using it as a dip to dip my chocolates, and then I want it to harden after, to dip my cookies rather. And because I'm doing that, I've just added a couple of tablespoons of butter to the bottom, and that will help soften the chocolate a little bit, but we won't end up with it super soft and not hardening, because we do want it to harden a little bit. But use a chocolate designed for melting. I'm using a fondue chocolate. You could use those chocolate wafers, anything that's designed to melt. Chocolate chips, you can do it, but they tend to hold their shape more because that's what they're designed to do. This doesn't hold its shape. It's designed to melt into a puddle. So we're just going to wait for that to melt, and then we will be back and we will start dipping and decorating our cookies. All right, I have removed my chocolate from its base. You want to go through and make sure that there aren't any large lumps, like pieces of chocolate that haven't dissolved yet. But then you literally just start taking your chocolate cookies, your plain cookies, dip, give them a little shake, place. Now don't touch that cookie. You want to leave that cookie alone. Dip. The trick is don't touch them now. You don't want to play with them while they're on the mat. They have to harden. Okay, we're just going to do all of our cookies. And then you can kind of swirl your chocolate and kind of build it up into a mound to give you a better dipping surface. And just keep going. Dip all your medallions or whatever shape you happen to have. Okay, but it's important that you don't touch them once they're on the mat, because if you shift them back and forth, your chocolate's going to end up everywhere instead of on the cookie where you want it to stay. And I've removed this from its base so that it doesn't continue heating up. It's plenty hot enough. There we go. There we are. So when you are doing this, you can reheat it later if it solidifies and you need to do another batch. Right now, we're not doing that. It's a little too much chocolate on there. There we go. These cute little chocolate medallions. These are really nice for really any holiday. Shake off the excess. And now, because it is the holidays, I'm going to use a holiday themed sprinkle just to go on here. So we're just going to sprinkle them on. There we go. And then they will stick on there a little bit. There we go. And then we're just going to let them dry. We will come back when they are fully set. Remember, you can reuse your chocolate as many times as you need to, as long as you didn't scorch it. That's why I removed it from its base, so it won't scorch. If it solidifies between batches, I'll just pop it back in to its base and we will be golden. So we will come back as soon as those have hardened. And there we go. Our cookies are dipped and dried. You can pop your cookies into the fridge or even the freezer if your chocolate's taking too long to set, especially if you're in a rush. But generally they will set themselves in about an hour, hour and a half. If you need them faster, pop them in your freezer. They'll be set in about 20 minutes. But that is all there is to it. It's really very easy to quickly dip your own chocolate. The trick is melting your chocolate in a way that the chocolate doesn't overheat. So use a double boiler or a chocolate melter. You can also use a fondue pot. If you have an old fondue pot in your cupboard, a lot of us do, you can use a fondue pot to melt your chocolate. So the trick is using the correct chocolate, making sure your chocolate doesn't burn, and a little bit of patience. That's about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. We'll see you tomorrow.